All right, man, peace. So, brothers, I did a video a while back pertaining to Mr. LeBron James and my view that he certainly is over the pinnacle of the mountain and he's on his way down. Right now, he's going to go through a very brief period in his career where he seems to be as dominant as he once was, because there's going to be a meeting or nexus point of his physical aspect and his mental approach to the game where he's still going to be able to put up big numbers. But you're going to see that he's not going to be able to give his all defensively consistently. He's going to get beat a lot by lesser players. And you're going to start to see a lot of offset when it comes to his productivity. Meaning what? He's going to score 28 points, but he's going to give up 30 points. He's going to have games where he has 30 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds. And the player who goes against him is going to have 29 points, 12 assists, 8 rebounds. So it's going to become a wash. That time period of dominance for LeBron James is coming to an end. It's still here, but they're on the back end. They're on the back nine, to use a golf term, of LeBron James' dominance. There's no doubt about that. People can see it. And there is about to be a transition or a changeover when it comes to who's considered the best player in the NBA. Jalen Rose, one of the top basketball analysts on ESPN, is going to bring that sentiment home even more. He's going to be very blatant and very upfront about his assertions pertaining to Mr. LeBron James and his belief that LeBron just cannot do it anymore like he once could. So they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
So this old adage that the NBA is more predictable than other sports, that's overblown. That's actually hype. There's one team in Major League Baseball that actually has 27 pennants.
No, World Series.
Oh, World Series.
40.
Let me say this first off. I disagree with Jalen Rose's statement that the NBA is not more predictable than other sports. I do believe that the NBA is more predictable than other sports because it's definitely more heavily deterministic based on the best player. The team that has 2 of the top 3 best players in a series is normally going to win, normally, unless the other team just has one player who's better than everybody. That can happen every once in a while, i.e. Hakeem Olajuwon against the Orlando Magic. But for the most part, the teams that have 2 of the top 3 best players or 3 of the top 5 is going to win the series. That's normally how it's gone over the course of NBA history. So I have to disagree with Jalen there.
That's correct. There's also a team in football that has been to 9 Super Bowls and has won 6. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to predict them to get there next year, regardless of who's on the team, even though they have a 41-year-old quarterback. Also, you say...
Those are decent points, but let me say this about the Patriots. The Patriots are beating most of these teams on football IQ. They happen to have a genius head coach.
Saying you predicted that the Lakers would be under 500? No. Headed to the All-Star break?
No.
You didn't predict that, did you?
No.
Okay.
But that's not the end point. This is the midpoint.
If the Lakers make the playoffs, it's going to be barely.
Right.
By the skin of their teeth.
I agree with that, and it's also going to be because they have a little help. It's better for the NBA that the Lakers make the playoffs than the Sacramento Kings. We all know that. So we all know what that means. That means that they're going to get assistance from the referees. Can the Sacramento Kings overcome that? Sure they can. Only if they play relatively non-pareil basketball over the course of these last 25 games. If the Kings have 25 games left, they're probably going to have to go 20-5 to make the playoffs.
And you know
They got
what
skin
else?
on their teeth, yes or no? Do they have skin on those teeth?
No.
Ooh!
Here's why. They have the 4th toughest remaining schedule in the NBA. And the team that they're fighting with, and you didn't predict this either, the Sacramento Kings, okay, going back and forth for a playoff spot, have an easier schedule. And their opponents have less than a 500 win percentage remaining. And
Let me say this. If LeBron James does not make the playoff this year, this is going to be a chink in his armor when it comes to him being considered the quote-unquote greatest player ever. People are going to make excuses for him like they always do. They're going to claim that he did not have enough help from his teammates, that he was hurt. But at the end of the day, if you can't even lead your team to the playoffs in the Western Conference, that is going to hurt your legacy when the conversation is brought up about the quote-unquote greatest player ever.
And guess what else will happen? The Sacramento Kings just added Harrison Barnes. And if they make the playoffs, they're going to celebrate and say, we had a great season to build on. The Lakers make the playoffs in the AC, and they lose in 5 to the Golden State Warriors. Let me
say that. Let me say this very quickly since Jalen Rose hit on that. If the NBA wants to assist the Lakers, not only are the Lakers going to have to make the playoffs, but they're going to have to get to the 7th seed. Because if they only get to the 8th seed, they're playing the Golden State Warriors in the first round. And they don't want that. So it'd probably be best if the Kings made the playoffs instead of the Lakers. I'm sure that Adam Silver is sitting back really just ruminating or meditating on these various scenarios and saying to himself, do we really want LeBron to make the playoffs and go against Golden State and go out in the first round like this? Or would we rather have the Kings, a young up-and-coming team, face the Warriors in the first round, go out in 5, have some exciting moments, and then we can refurbish LeBron for next year? Or we got to go ham with the referees and get him to the 7th seed and hope that San Antonio falls off. Maybe we could find a way to injure DeMar DeRozan or LaMarcus Aldridge so that the Spurs can just plummet.
That ain't a successful season in LA. You didn't predict that either.
So what are you saying? They're not going to make the playoffs?
Correct.
You're saying they're not going to make the playoffs?
They're not making the playoffs this year.
Look at you.
And how about this?
Look at you.
And so since I played in the league, a lot of times people think you have a personal agenda. Magic Johnson is my childhood idol.
Well, Jalen, everybody thinks that you have a personal agenda whenever you don't bow down and genuflect at the altar of LeBron James. So you're not supposed to say what you're saying right now.
I call him the Hall of Fame mogul. Rob Pelinka was my college teammate at the University of Michigan.
People forget that.
So it has nothing to do with that. I just think this group, this collection, has fought all year the perception that they're not good enough. Now all of a sudden, when you go to Atlanta and they beat the brakes off of you like that, that don't make you a playoff team in my estimation.
All right, now here's the thing. I agree with Max, but I don't like the way I got there. Because Max had hyped it up. It's all probabilistic and statistics and nonsense, man. The only reason that you think the Lakers are going to make the playoffs is for the same reason that I do.
Yeah, that's what I'm
it's a
saying.
complete religious act of faith.
Correct.
Yes, what?
At least you admit that you're an idolater. Good for you.
Well, what I'm saying is... But it's not the probabilistic outcome.
No.
He wins on probability.
No. You're misunderstanding what I'm saying.
Basketball...
Well, I wouldn't say that Jalen Rose wins on probabilities. I would say that he wins on what's trending right now. I think that, for lack of a better term, when you analyze the tea leaves and you just look at the lack of synergy with the Lakers and how many of their young players were so hurt by the trade rumors and the very apparent disconnect between LeBron and the young guys on the team. Like, to me, it's very obvious that the young guys on the team respect Rajon Rondo. They don't respect LeBron James. Why is that? Because they were fans of LeBron James and they feel like he let them down. So now there's a disconnect between themselves. And I noticed it especially with Kyle Kuzma and LeBron. They'll very rarely look each other in the face or in the eye. So I could tell that Kyle Kuzma was one of the biggest LeBron James fanboys and got his feelings hurt. So they all are turning to Rajon Rondo. That's why Rondo is such an asset for their squad, because Rondo is actually a real leader, unlike LeBron James, who tries to lead, but he's too duplicitous to ever be a real leader who can be counted on.
Football is fundamentally not probabilistic. Football and baseball are that the best team doesn't always win in football and baseball. The best team in a 7-game series in the NBA wins. It produces the result of the best team. What that tells you is it's predictable. It should turn out the way the numbers suggested. What I'm telling you is this. The numbers suggest Jalen is right. They're 2 games back of the Kings. The Kings have an easier schedule, but not by much, Jalen. They had the 8th toughest schedule in the NBA remaining, and the Lakers have the 4th toughest schedule.
Yeah, it's going to be a dogfight coming down the stretch. What I'll say about the Kings is that I like what I've seen from them. They have great talent on their team. They have shooting. They have athleticism. They have youth. They have vigor. The difference is that the Lakers have LeBron James. And LeBron is known as being someone who could take over down the stretch. We're going to find out how much he's actually being hampered by the sports hernia injury that he's apparently still suffering from. And it is a built-in excuse for him, so it's a good thing. LeBron will try to rally the troops. He will try to lead in that Cub Scout troop leader way that he tries to lead. And to be honest with you, it's truly a referendum on the lack of leadership in the NBA. That LeBron James is almost uniformly recognized as one of the better leaders amongst the best players in the NBA. There's just no leadership anymore. And that's what Muggsy Bogues was talking about. There are no real leaders. There's no real mental and psychological alphas, quote-unquote alphas, in the league anymore. That's why LeBron James has to be considered, for this era, a relatively good leader. You look at all the other great players, whether it be Kawhi or Kevin Durant, they're not good leaders. Steph Curry is good from the standpoint that he provides a lot of psychological calm because he tends to keep himself at an even keel. You know, Kyrie struggles with leadership, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. So, I mean, it's really a referendum more on the lack of leadership skills of many of the players in today's game.
you start doing the numbers, I can see how you get there. But we start encountering two things, two words really, LeBron and the Kings. And we start trying to divorce ourselves from what they have been in the past. How can you really tell yourself the Kings are going to beat out LeBron for the playoffs? Look, man, I'm not going to sit here and win a debate with you on like objective facts and metrics because I recognize, and maybe you do as well, what you're saying here, Max, it's faith. LeBron has proven me wrong several times.
Well, if you're a LeBron James fanboy or a LeBron James supporter or just someone who thinks that the Lakers will make the playoffs over the Kings, you can always say the Lakers were playing very good basketball before that Christmas injury. You can reflect back to that. It's not like you don't have any precedent or a reference point. Right now, the Lakers are behind the Kings, but one would assume that they're going to play better with LeBron James in the lineup.
Faith is faith,
It's
man.
faith. It's faith, but it's the true definition of faith. It's not belief in the absence of evidence. The evidence just wasn't compiled this year. It's been a career worth, the way people had faith in Tom Brady that I didn't have, right? It's been, because I think eventually it's going to run up. But it's been a career's worth of production from LeBron.
I wouldn't call it faith. I would just call it respect for what someone of prominence has done in the past, therefore meaning that they have the capability or the potential to do it again.
Against the backdrop of a league where players like that, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, figure out a way to get it done.
Let's get to the LeBron part of this. Somebody that I actually played against when I was in the league. You continue to say that LeBron is the best player in the game by a mile, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm so happy Jalen Rose calls this fool out for this madness about LeBron James being the best player by a mile.
Okay. LeBron won't be first team All-NBA this season.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So there's a reason why you have player of the week, you have player of the month, you have player of the year in the regular season, you have finals MVP. I actually won player of the week a couple of times. I wasn't the best player in the game. I just played the best at that moment.
You player of the week. That felt pretty good there.
But just think about this for LeBron, though. He has a groin injury. He missed 17 games, something he has not done in his career. He will not be first team All-NBA, which that means is he's not playing at the level that he used to. And you know what else? He's not in the Eastern Conference.
Let me ask you this.
The West is better, man.
Right. Let me ask you this. Do you believe that LeBron James is not playing as he used to, primarily because he's incapable of it, or primarily because he knows his body and knows he has to save it for the stretch run, which is coming up right now, and then if and when they make the playoffs, then who do you expect to be the best player in the game?
If and when they make the playoffs, LeBron James is not going to be the best player in the game. In regards to his first question, it's a mixture of both. LeBron is not the player that he once was, but he's also conserving his body because he is trying to come back from a very debilitating injury. Sports hernias or groin injuries, whatever the issue is, they're nothing to play with. So when I watched him play against the Boston Celtics, and that was a masterful performance by him, by the way, that Boston Celtics performance, but I could still tell that he was not the same guy.
Not LeBron this season, man.
LeBron won't be the best player in the playoffs this year.
No.
This season.
He was last year.
Chip, I had you here yesterday when I argued if you could have one player to build your championship team around this season, I said KD. Richard Jefferson and Max all over LeBron.
Not this season. And you ready for this? Do you think LeBron James really wants to get to the 8th seed and get bounced by the Golden State Warriors?
Absolutely, because LeBron knows what's at stake. When he's evaluated, he's not evaluated so much against the best players today. He kind of is, but when you think about LeBron James, you mentioned him amongst the Larry Birds, the Magic Johnsons, the Wilt Chamberlains, the Michael Jordans, the Bill Russells, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbars, the Hakeem Olajuwons, the Tim Duncans, the Shaqs, so on and so forth. That's where LeBron James' name is mentioned. So he knows that if he misses the playoffs this year, that's going to be a ding on his overall legacy, not just for this season, but for his career.
A team he just faced in the finals the last couple of seasons.
The answer is yes.
You think he want to give them that gratification?
I tell you why the answer is yes. Because if LeBron wants to win a championship in LA, and I believe he does, I think that's very important to him for obvious reasons, then it is important to have the experience for some of these young players who will remain on the team. Not everyone will, but a couple of them will be there. To have the experience of playing the Golden State Warriors in the playoffs. You say a 5-game loss to Golden State in the first round's a failure? I disagree. The way Boogie has shown up on this team, if you can win a game against them in the playoffs and get that experience as a unit, that...
Well, I'll say this. If the Lakers were to face off against the Golden State Warriors, I think that series would be much more competitive than people think. It wouldn't shock me if they won more than one game.
That's very, valuable.
But let's all make sure we pay attention to the expectations and the
People
narrative.
had them going to the Western Conference Finals.
Not me. Not me.
Yeah, well, people did.
Stephen A.
When you say people, you mean Stephen A. Smith. And if LeBron James had not gotten hurt and that team been able to coalesce even more and more, it would not have shocked me if they would have made it to the Western Conference Finals. Not at all. Because I don't trust the Rockets, and I don't even trust the OKC Thunder. We've yet to see them in the playoffs.
I sat here and told him he was crazy.
Yeah, but not just Stephen A. Other people did too.
I was not one of them.
Let's not act like
They would have had a chance. We've seen this Laker team without LeBron James go into OKC and beat them. They also went into Houston and should have beat them. Once again, we have not seen this current incarnation of the OKC Thunder in the playoffs. I love what I've seen from Paul George. He's going to make the All-NBA first team for the first time in his career. That's great. But I have to see him do it in the playoffs as well.
the expectations haven't gotten lowered. Okay, so it's like LeBron MVP level. That ain't happening this year. LeBron All NBA level. That ain't happening first team this year.
The playoffs start watching.
Lakers Western Conference Finals. That ain't happening.
LeBron James, the last 3 seasons, he went from a playoff performer who wasn't usually as good as he was in the regular season to one of those guys like, oh my God, he's almost the best who ever did it. And then he gets way better under pressure. So if that all goes away this season, I'll stand corrected because of a groin age or other issues. But until I see it, I'm going to believe that's who's going to show up. And let's really talk about why they won't make the playoffs if they don't this year, okay? Where's the cavalry? Every year LeBron's been in a situation, the cavalry comes, at the trade deadline. There's some tweak, adjustment, something. No one showed up.
Correct.
Why does he always need a damn cavalry for?
Out of time. Jalen, thank you so much.
Appreciate the love.
you. No Kyrie.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. This was a very good discussion. They need to have Jalen Rose on more often when it comes to basketball conversations because Stephen A. Smith kind of goes off the rails because he believes that he's some type of basketball maven. So anyway, peace.